Do you believe in submission? Representative Steve Pearce of New Mexico? He does, and he's getting quite a bit of attention, some positive, some negative, because of it. So what's going on? Well, Congressman Pearce's new book, Just Fly the Plane Stupid, is a personal memoir that includes family advice and his own family and how they organize themselves. Among the beliefs that organize this particular family, and one that he advocates for others, is that wives should voluntarily submit to their husband's loving leadership. Yep, he suggests that the best way to run a family is that wives should submit to their husbands. Now, before anyone freaks out like this guy went out and made this stuff up, he is actually grounded in a very serious biblical tradition. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 tells wives that is exactly what they are supposed to do in a passage that continues through verse 33. Here may be surprising. I actually agree with him. Yep, a rabbi who agrees with this suggestion. Well, at least sort of. What I think is important is submission as a value. Not as the only value, and not as the only way to organize a marriage. But Representative Pearce's suggestion that there are times in all of our lives when we do best, not by insisting on our own power and capacity, but by actually allowing ourselves to submit to the authority of another, can actually be a remarkably liberating and healthy experience. What concerns me is his premise that it only works in one direction, that wives should submit to their husbands. My personal experiences, there are times I want to submit to my wife and she to me. There are times for her to be a more active leader and times for me. But the idea that submission is inherently bad, I think, is misguided and actually leads us to worship power in ways that are not so healthy. Also, I think it's important that if in fact this form of submission that Congressman Pearce is advocating for is truly voluntary, then the alternative to submitting, that is exercising authority, should be equally valid. The only way in which something can be truly voluntary is when more than one outcome is considered acceptable. And so if it is really going to be voluntary submission that he is advocating, I hope he also will advocate for the fact that at least some of the time in all marriages, or all of the time in some marriages, it is the other way around, that it is the husband who should be submitting to the loving leadership of his wife. In fact, voluntary submission is a really important concept, especially in a world in which the submitters often believe in coercion, and the voluntarists often think submitting to anything is inherently degrading. In fact, it seems to me that combination of the free will expressed by voluntary and the awareness of our own limitations expressed by the concept of submission is a really useful model for thinking about how we organize our lives spiritually, familially, and in pretty much every other way. And so to that extent, I hope people take Representative Pearce's words to heart, that it be both genuinely voluntary and that submission is not inherently a dirty word.